Welcome to Story Ripple, a home for those who love to be read to. Hi, my name is Mary and I love to read books out loud. Let me share some best beloved books with you. These books have been sending out ripples of enjoyment for over 60 years. So no matter how you're feeling today, happy or sad, excited or anxious, I hope you can relax. Grab a pillow or a favorite stuffed animal and get ready to listen. It's time for a story. I'll take you into some fantastical worlds created by books. Little Snow White continued. And when the queen heard that, all her blood rushed to her heart with fear, for she saw plainly that little Snow White was again alive. But now, she said, I will think of something that should put an end to you. And by the help of witchcraft, which she understood, she made a poison comb. Then she disguised herself and took the shape of another old woman. So she went over the 7 mountains to the 7 dwarfs, knocked at the door and cried, "Good things to sell, cheap, cheap." Little Snow White looked out and said, "Go away, I cannot let anyone come in." "I suppose you can look," said the old woman, and pulled the poisonous comb out and held it up. It pleased the girl so much that she let herself be beguiled and opened the door. When they had made a bargain, the little old woman said, "Now I will comb your hair properly for once." Poor little Snow White had no suspicion, and let the old woman do as she pleased. But hardly had she put the comb in her hair than the poison in it took effect, and the little girl fell down senseless. "You paragon of beauty," said the wicked woman, "you are done for now," and she went away. But fortunately it was almost evening when the 7 dwarfs came home. When they saw Snow White lying as if dead upon the ground, they at once suspected the stepmother, and they looked and found the poison comb. Scarcely had they taken it out when Snow White came to herself and told them what had happened. Then they warned her once more to be on her guard and to open the door to no one. The queen at home went in front of the glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" Then it answered as before, "O queen, thou art fairest of all I see. But over the hills where the 7 dwarfs dwell, Snow White is still alive and well, and none is so fair as she." When she heard the glass speak thus, she trembled and shook with rage. "Snow White shall die," she cried, "even if it costs me my life." Thereupon she went into a quite secret, lonely room where no one ever came, and there she made a very poisonous apple. Outside it looked pretty, white with a red cheek, so that everyone who saw it longed for it, but whoever ate a piece of it would surely die. When the apple was ready, she painted her face and dressed herself up as a country woman, and so she went over the 7 hills to the 7 dwarfs, and she knocked at the door. Snow White put her head out of the window and said, "I cannot let anyone in. The 7 dwarfs have forbidden me." "It is all the same to me," answered the woman. "I shall soon get rid of my apples. There, I will give you one." "No," said Snow White, "I dare not take anything." "Are you afraid of poison?" said the old woman. "Look, I will cut the apple in 2 pieces. You eat the red cheek, and I will eat the white." The apple was so cunningly made that only the red cheek was poisoned. Snow White longed for the fine apple, and when she saw that the woman ate part of it, she could resist no longer, and stretched out her hand and took the poisonous half. But hardly had she bit into it than she fell down dead. Then the queen looked at her with a dreadful look and laughed aloud and said, "White as snow, red as blood, black as ebony wood. This time the dwarfs cannot wake you up again." And then she asked the looking glass at home, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" It answered at last, "O queen, In this land thou art fairest of all." Then her envious heart had rest, as so far as an envious heart can have rest. The dwarfs, when they came home in the evening, found Snow White lying upon the ground. She breathed no longer and was dead. They lifted her up and looked to see whether they could find anything poisonous, unlaced her dress, combed her hair, washed her with water and wine, but it was all of no use. The poor child was dead and remained dead. They laid her upon a bier, and all 7 of them sat around it and wept for her, and wept 3 days long. When they were going to bury her, but she still looked as if she were living and still had her pretty red cheeks, they said, "We could not bury her in the dark ground." And they made a transparent coffin of glass, made so that she could be seen from all sides, and they laid her in it, and wrote her name upon it in golden letters, and said that she was a king's daughter. Then they put the coffin out upon the mountain, and one of them always stayed by it and watched it. And the birds came too and wept for Snow White, first an owl, then a raven, and at last a dove. And now Snow White lay long, long in the coffin, and she did not change, but looked as if she were asleep. For she was as white as snow, and her cheeks were as red as blood, and her hair was as black as ebony. It happened, however, that a king's son came into the forest and went to the dwarf's house to spend the night. He saw the coffin on the mountain and the beautiful Snow White within it, and read what was written upon it in golden letters. Then he said to the dwarfs, "Let me have the coffin. I will give you whatever you want for it." But the dwarfs answered, "We will not part for it for all the gold in the world." And then he said, "Let me have it as a gift, for I cannot live without seeing Snow White. I will honor and prize her as my dearest possession." As he spoke in this way, the good dwarfs took pity upon him and gave him the coffin. And now the king's son had it carried away by his servants on their shoulders. And it happened that they stumbled over a tree stump, and with the shock, the poisonous piece of apple which Snow White had bitten off came out of her throat. And before long she opened her eyes, lifted up the lid of the coffin, sat up, and was once more alive. "Oh, heavens! Where am I?" she cried. The king's son, full of joy, said, "You are with me," and told her what had happened, and said, "I love you more than everything in the world. Come with me to my father's palace. You shall be my wife." And Snow White was willing and went with him, and their wedding was held with great show and splendor. But Snow White's wicked stepmother was also bidden to the feast. When she had arrayed herself in beautiful clothes, she went before the looking-glass and said, looking glass on the wall, who in this land is the fairest of all?" And the glass answered, "O Queen, of all here the fairest art thou, but the young queen is fairer by far, as I trow." Then the wicked woman uttered a curse, and was so wretched, so utterly wretched, that she knew not what to do. At first she would not go to the wedding at all, but she had no peace, and must go see the young queen. When she went in, she knew Snow White, and became so overwhelmed with rage and jealousy that she fell down dead. The end. Thank you for sharing this fairy tale with me. Our companionship can continue at storyripple.com.